Okay, so the next step, now that you know that you can play 3 chord tone shapes to cover 6 different chords, I want to do a little expanding on the chord shapes so that you have a little more variety in where the chord tones are. So we're just going to take it one step at a time so that you can kind of go and expand on this whole concept of playing. So remember, let me show you, we boiled down all 6 chords, 3 major and 3 minor, to playing just with 3 major chords, 3 major chords. And those are 1, 4, and 5 will cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 chords. And I showed you the shapes just on, you remember there are these 3 strings of the guitar. And I'm going to just go expand on that just a little bit. So I'm going to take you back to the G form. Remember, for the beginning lessons, we're just only focusing on one form, the G form of chords. By the way, you might be asking, how many forms are there? Well, on the guitar, there's actually 5 forms. G is one of those 5, but there's 4 others, but we don't want to go into all 5 of those. We're going to do one step at a time. So this is just the G form. And we're going to take it into the key of A so that it's off the open strings so you can see this. So the 1 chord, remember, is here, right in this region. And in the last video, I showed you the 1 chord looking like that, just the 3 strings. But I want to show you one other way of playing this. And in fact, this way is probably more used as a 1 chord in the G form in the key of A, where you got to remember all these things because it all changes as soon as we change either the form or the key, is to actually play this note right here up like that. So let me remove this note. Okay. So this is a different way of playing the 1 chord. Now you can play either this note there on this B string, or you can play it there. The reason why this is confusing is because you can't play both of these notes on one string, you remember, because if you play this, this won't ring. But it's a good idea to learn and memorize both this shape and both that shape. They're going to have a different sound to it, and depending on where you're playing and over which chord and how they're moving, one will sound probably better than the other. The next is the 4 chord. So the 4 chord, we played it like this. But I wanted to show you one other way to play this. Instead of playing this note here, you can play it stretched out here like this. Take this away. So it's got this shape to it. Once again, you'll want to know this shape and this shape because one will sound better. And remember, even though you can't play this, all 4 of these notes together just because these 2 notes are on the same string, if you're looking at these as chord tones, 1 note at a time rather than like a strumming chord where you play them all together, this becomes much easier to see. You got 4 note groupings. By the way, I wanted to mention this earlier, but now is a great opportunity. Another term for chord tones is what you call arpeggios. Arpeggios. And the only difference is arpeggios are usually played in either a descending or ascending order. Chord tones kind of takes you away from that, and it doesn't, there's no kind of order of notes that you have to play, because the arpeggio implies they're playing going up or down. Chord tones just kind of makes it, you can play any order that you want, but basically they're the same thing. All right, and one last new shape or new pattern for the 5 chord is like this. Here was the old one. Here's the, I shouldn't say old because you're going to incorporate this along with these. But here's what you learned already. The other would be here. It's the same as the 4 chord, moved up 2 frets, everything. But this note basically moves up here. So here's another way to play a 5 chord. But once again, let me put this note back so that you can look at it and see the 4 note possibilities that you have. So now you have, for the 1 chord, you have 4 notes that you can play around with. The 4 chord, you have 4 notes you can play around with. 5 chord, you have 4 notes you can play around with. But remember, that's incorporating into this whole formula the relative minors. So for any of the 6 chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 chord, you'll have 4 notes that you can kind of noodle around on.